OJ, it's a blip. It'll be out of the papers by Wednesday.
Good to hear, Lee. Good to hear. But I won't be out of this jail by next Wednesday, now will I? Will I?
Excuse me. Are you accusing me of lying in a courtroom? How dare you?
You can't get away with lying, Mr. Bailey. Not in this case. There are too many people watching.
I'm F. Lee Bailey. I represented Sam Shepard, Patty Hearst, the guy Boston Strangler.
It's a long time ago. Look at the bright side. This could be the most high-profile criminal case in the history of the world. And OJ's easily the most famous...
The People versus O.J. Simpson has been a massive success, maybe the biggest hit of the year so far, and not just in the United States, but also in the UK. The final episode featuring the not guilty verdict aired on BBC Two last night. The series has been so successful, in fact, that there are already plans for American Crime Story Season 2. According to The Hollywood Reporter, American Crime Story Season 2 will focus on Hurricane Katrina. It will focus on 6 to 8 people in an attempt to examine all sides of this tragedy. One of the show's creators, Ryan Murphy, says that he wants the show to be a socially conscious, socially aware examination of different types of crime around the world, he said. And in my opinion, he says, Katrina was an effing crime. Those are his exact words.
Murphy's words. And joining us right now was a man who was central to American Crime Story Season 1, The People versus O.J. Simpson, famed attorney F. Lee Bailey. Thanks for being with us, Counselor.
Counselor, do you think Katrina was a crime?
Well, there are a lot of things that weren't done right, but to get criminal intent as to any of the people who didn't do things right is a tremendous burden. It's not going to happen, maybe on TV, but Katrina is not a potential criminal case gathering moss.
Well, let's go back to Season 1, the one which featured Nathan Lane playing you in that movie. And one of the most riveting scenes of the entire series was when Nathan Lane, playing you, cross-examines Mark Fuhrman. Have you seen this scene, and what were you thinking when you watched it? Did they do any justice to the recreation?
I thought that was one of the better points of the entire show as far as fidelity to actual history is concerned, because they took that part right out of the transcript. The explosive question to Fuhrman was not, did you ever use that word in the last 10 years? But if other people said you did, and we had a bucket full in our pocket, as he probably knew, if other people said you did, would they be lying? And he said yes. And I said, and it was replayed on TV, all of them? And he said yes. That was the sucker question and the backbreaker, because it shows that he knew that lots of people would be coming in to say he was a liar.
And that's why you're looked to as an expert when it comes to cross-examining witnesses.
Yeah, I just want to know, though, what's it like watching a part of your life unfold on television? I have to know what that's like.
I'll tell you from long experience, I have been portrayed innumerable times. In the Shepard case, there were 2 movies made. There was an earlier one made of this case, in which Bob Shapiro's book was I'd say a heavy factor in the script. Christopher Plummer played me, didn't do a pretty good job, but then he never talked to me before the show, and frankly, neither did Nathan Lane. None of the actors were allowed to talk to the principals before the filming, which I think is a shame.
Interesting. We also want to talk to you about criminal justice reform. It's become a very hot button issue on the campaign trail, specifically the tough on crime bill that was signed by President Clinton back by then First Lady Hillary Clinton. Black Lives Matter activists have called it racist. Do you agree with that?
Well, most of the tough on crime bills were drug related. The public has long, I think, acted unwisely in dealing with certain kinds of drugs. Now, the more serious ones have to be prohibited, and strong steps need to be taken. But throwing people in jail for 10 and 20 years for dealing marijuana, which the public is going to have no matter how it gets it, just like liquor in the late 20s, is just plain stupid, and it should have been stopped a long time ago. We are now discovering up here in crusty old Maine that marijuana may be a means to get people off the opium drugs. And I can only say that's belated. Where did you people have your heads for the last 50 years?
That's a good question. It's a hot button topic. We hear a lot of discussion about the opioid addiction on the campaign trail as well. And great to get your insight on these topics, and glad to hear you enjoyed at least a little bit the People versus O.J. Simpson. Attorney F. Lee Bailey, thanks so much for being with us. Great to talk to you, sir.
Okay.
And we still want to hear from you. What do you think about Donald Trump accidentally referring to 9/11 as 7/11? You can tweet us your thoughts or leave us a comment on our Facebook page. We'll be right back.